The night the whisper found him, the Wyoming plains were locked in white silence, snow drifting sideways like ghosts crossing open ground. Eli Mercer rode fence by lantern light, coat pulled tight, beard stiff with ice, every sound swallowed by the storm. Then through the howl of wind he heard it, a sound too soft to belong to weather, a woman's voice, broken and thin, calling for help. His horse stopped dead, as if it heard it too. Eli's heart thudded harder than hooves on frozen earth, because out here, voices did not come from nowhere, and they never came without a price. Eli swung down from the saddle, boots crunching in snow that reached his shins. The ranch spread behind him like a dark ocean, 30 miles from the nearest town, a place where men survived by grit and instinct, not miracles. He lifted the lantern high, the yellow light cutting a narrow tunnel through the storm. Again the whisper came, closer now, almost carried on his breath. "Help me, please." It was the sound of someone at the edge of strength, and despite every hard lesson he had learned since boyhood, Eli followed it. The trail led him toward a stand of cottonwoods near the frozen creek, branches groaning under ice, shadows twisting like old memories. Eli's hand drifted to the revolver at his hip, not from fear of people, but from fear of hope, because hope could kill a man faster than bullets out here. Then he saw her, half buried against the creek bank, dark hair tangled with snow, arms wrapped tight around something pressed to her chest. She looked up when the lantern light touched her face, eyes wide and shining with pain and relief. She was young, maybe mid-20s, cheeks hollow, lips blue with cold, and clutched in her arms was a small baby blanket, white once, now soaked and stiff with ice. No baby cried, no movement came from within the folds. Eli's chest tightened. The woman tried to speak, but only a rasp came out. He knelt beside her, the snow biting through his gloves. "Easy now, miss, you're safe," he said, though he had no idea if it was true. The wind howled louder, as if angry he'd found her. Eli shrugged out of his coat and wrapped it around her shoulders. The woman flinched, then leaned into the warmth, tears freezing on her lashes. She shook her head when he reached for the blanket. "No, please." Her voice cracked. He stopped, reading the terror in her eyes. Whatever she carried in that cloth was all she had left in the world. He lifted her gently, surprised by how light she was, like the storm had already taken half of her away. His horse stamped and snorted, uneasy, but Eli spoke low and steady. "We're going home," he said, and for the first time in years, the word meant more than a place. The ride back to the ranch felt longer than any drive Eli had made in his life. The woman slumped against him in the saddle, breath shallow, one arm locked around the blanket. He felt the faint tremor running through her bones. The sky vanished in white, landmarks erased, but Eli knew this land the way a man knows his own scars. Every dip and rise etched into him by seasons of work and loss. He urged the horse on, whispering promises he wasn't sure he could keep. Lights finally appeared through the storm, the ranch house standing stubborn against the night. Eli dismounted and carried her inside, the door slamming against the wind. Warmth rushed over them, fire popping in the hearth. The woman sagged with a sob that sounded like something tearing loose inside her. Eli set her down on the couch, fetched water, blankets, his hands clumsy with urgency. She looked at him then, really looked, as if measuring whether this stranger could be trusted with what remained of her heart. "Thank you," she whispered, the words barely there. Eli nodded, unsure what to say. His eyes kept drifting to the blanket, to the way her fingers clenched the fabric like a lifeline. Outside, the storm raged on, but inside the ranch house, something had shifted. A line crossed that could not be uncrossed. Eli Mercer had ridden out expecting nothing more than broken fence and bitter cold. Instead, he had brought home a mystery wrapped in snow, and whatever truth lay inside that blanket, he knew one thing for certain. The night's whisper was only the beginning. Morning crept into the ranch house, slow and pale, the storm spent but not forgiven. Snow stacked high against the windows like it meant to stay. Eli had not slept. He sat at the rough pine table nursing cold coffee, listening to the sound of breathing from the couch. The woman slept fitfully, murmuring words he could not catch. Her fingers still knotted in the edge of the baby blanket. He had tried once in the night to ease it from her grasp so she could rest easier, but she had woken with a sharp cry and clutched it harder, eyes wild until she recognized where she was. Eli learned then that whatever story lay behind her had teeth. When she finally woke for good, sunlight touching her face, she pushed herself upright with effort, pain written in the tight line of her mouth. Eli moved slow, not wanting to spook her, set a tin cup of water within reach. "My name's Eli Mercer," he said. "Ranch is yours till the weather breaks." She studied him, taking in the worn shirt, the calloused hands, the eyes that had seen too many winters. After a moment, she nodded. "Clara," she said. "Clara Hale." The name sounded like it belonged to gentler places than this. She swallowed and looked down at the blanket. "I didn't mean to trouble you. I was just trying to get away." Eli leaned back, giving her space. "Away from what?" he asked, not pressing but not pretending he did not want the answer. Clara's jaw tightened. She stared at the fire as if seeing something else in the flames. "Away from a town that smiles while it sharpens knives," she said. "Away from a man who decides what's his without asking." Eli understood enough of that without more words. Out here men took what they wanted if no one stopped them, and storms covered a multitude of sins. He nodded once. "You can stay," he said. "No one's coming for you here." She looked at him then, something like disbelief crossing her face. Hunger finally pulled her attention from fear. Eli fixed bacon and eggs, thick slices of bread. She ate slow at first, like she did not trust the food to last. Then faster, color creeping back into her cheeks. But when Eli's gaze drifted again to the blanket, Clara noticed, her hand tightened. "I need to show you something," she said quietly. "But not yet. I need to know you won't turn me out when you see it." The weight of that hung heavy between them. Eli met her eyes, steady as fence posts set deep. "I don't ride a man into danger and then leave him in the snow," he said, "and whatever you're carrying, it rode in with you." By midday the storm had cleared enough for Eli to ride the perimeter. Snow hid the fences, but not the signs of trouble. He found tracks where none should be, bootprints half filled with drift, circling the cottonwoods near the creek. His gut tightened. Someone else had been there that night. Maybe before him, maybe after. He followed the trail as far as he dared, then turned back, mind working. He had lived alone too long, but this land had taught him to read what it was saying, and it was saying the past had not let Clara go. When he returned, Clara was standing by the window, blanket over her shoulders like a shawl. She turned at the sound of the door. "You found them, didn't you?" she said, not asking. Eli closed the door slow, snow falling from his hat. "Yeah," he said. "Someone's been looking." Fear flickered across her face, then resolve. She drew the blanket tighter and finally unfolded it. Inside was not a baby, but a bundle of papers wrapped in oilcloth, letters yellowed with age, and beneath them a small silver locket. Inside the locket was a faded photograph of a woman holding an infant. On the back a name etched careful and deep, Mercy Hale. Clara's voice shook as she spoke. "That was my mother. The man in town burned our house down when she wouldn't sell him the land. Said it was an accident. Everyone believed him, everyone but me. These papers are the deeds. Proof he lied. Proof the land was ours. Proof he killed her." Eli felt something cold settle in his chest. Justice was a thin thing on the frontier, often bent by the heaviest hand, and now that proof sat in his house, carried through a blizzard like a newborn. No wonder she ran. No wonder someone followed. Night fell again, quieter but heavier. Eli cleaned his rifle by the fire while Clara sat close, the blanket between them on the table. The wind moaned outside like it remembered the whisper that started it all. Eli looked at the door, at the windows, then at Clara. "You're not running anymore," he said. "Not if I can help it." Clara met his gaze, eyes bright with fear and something stronger beneath it. Hope, the kind that scared men more than guns. Outside, unseen in the dark, a horse snorted, and the snow creaked under careful steps. Whatever had chased Clara out of town had found the edge of Eli Mercer's world, and the reckoning was drawing near. The knock came just before dawn, not loud, not polite, the kind meant to test whether a house was awake or asleep. Eli rose from his chair without a sound, rifle already in hand. The fire burned low, casting long shadows across the floor. Clara sat up on the couch, eyes wide, blanket gathered to her chest. She did not need to ask who it was. The land itself seemed to hold its breath. Eli moved to the door, paused, then spoke steady. "Whoever you are, you best turn around." The answer was a chuckle, thin and mean, followed by a voice Eli did not know but understood too well. "We just want the girl. Mercer, no trouble if you hand her over." Eli opened the door, a crack, cold spilling in like a threat. 3 men stood outside, hats pulled low, horses steaming behind them. The lead man smiled without warmth. Town lawman by the look of his coat, though his eyes carried no law in them. "You're mistaken," Eli said. "There's no girl here." The man's smile widened. "Papers say otherwise," he replied. "Said she ran north with something that don't belong to her." Clara rose behind Eli, fear straightening her spine into resolve. She stepped forward before he could stop her. "It belongs to my family," she said, her voice shaking but strong. "You burned my house, you killed my mother, and you called it an accident." The smile vanished, replaced by something sharp. "Watch yourself, miss," the lawman said. But Eli stepped between them, rifle lifting just enough to make the point clear. "This is my land," he said, "and the law don't ride here unless I invite it." Snow drifted between them, silence stretching thin as wire. The other two men shifted, hands near their guns. Clara's breath came quick, but she did not retreat. Years of fear boiling into a single moment. "If I leave with them," she said softly to Eli, "it ends here. If I don't, they'll never stop." Eli looked at her then, really looked, saw the strength beneath the wear, the same strength that had carried her through the storm. "No," he said, "it ends when truth does." The first shot cracked the morning open. No one later agreed who fired it. Eli's rifle bucked against his shoulder. One man went down hard in the snow. The horses screamed and reared. Chaos exploded where moments before there had been quiet. The lawman drew his gun, but Eli was faster. Years of work and watchfulness guiding his hands. The second man ran, boots slipping. Fear finally louder than greed. The lawman backed away, eyes darting. "This isn't over, Mercer," he spat. "Law'll come for you." Eli stepped forward, rifle steady. "Maybe," he said, "but not today." When it was done, the snow was marked with blood and tracks leading away. Eli stood breathing hard, the cold biting now that the danger had passed. Clara knelt beside the fallen man, not in mercy, but in resolve. She retrieved the papers from her blanket and held them up. "This goes to the county seat," she said, "to a judge who don't owe you favors." The lawman hesitated, weighed his chances, then mounted up and rode hard, fear finally winning. Eli watched him disappear, knowing men like that did not forget. But they did bleed. Days passed, the storm melted into memory. Clara stayed, helping with chores, learning the rhythms of the ranch. Laughter returned in small, careful pieces. They rode together to town once the roads cleared, papers delivered, names spoken aloud where they could not be buried. Whispers followed them like shadows, but this time they did not bend Clara's back. The judge listened. The deeds were real, the lies plain. Warrants were written, the lawman's name among them. Justice moved slow, but it moved. Spring came late but sure. Grass pushing through where snow had ruled. Clara stood at the fence one evening, wind tugging her hair loose. Eli joined her, neither speaking for a long while. The land stretched out before them, hard-won and honest. "I don't know where I'd be without you," she said finally. Eli shrugged, eyes on the horizon. "Maybe the storm knew where to send you," he said. She smiled at that, a real smile this time, and slipped the silver locket over her neck, no longer hiding it. The whisper never came again. But sometimes, when snow fell soft and quiet, Eli thought he heard echoes of that night. Not fear this time, but promise. The ranch was no longer just a place to survive. It was a place where truth had stood its ground. Clara stayed through the seasons. The blanket folded away in a chest, no longer a shield, but a reminder. And when folks later asked how it all began, Eli would say it started with a whisper in the snow, and a woman brave enough to carry justice through a storm.